Hey guys doing? Welcome to Mother Chicken Siamese. My name is Creepy Truckee, and today we are gonna talk and draw. This is the show where we talk about stuff and we draw something, you know, interesting hopefully. Or we talk about something interesting hopefully. Now, what's been going on in the news these days is the beer bug. We of course have to call it the beer bug because we can't say its real name for some reason. Well, the bigger channels don't say it, the new name, because I don't want to get demonetized. And I don't want to say it because, I don't want the goddamn algorithm to, screw me over for whatever reason, and just in case. Basically, just in case. Now, obviously, we can't avoid talking about it because almost everybody now is under lockdown and quarantine. Down here, the lockdown has closed down all the restaurants, and it's a problem for me because I drive a van for a living, and the problem and part of the stuff that I deliver, while driving my van delivering boxes, is supplies and wine for restaurants, and that's not going to happen anymore for the time being. So there's less work to go around, and everybody wants more, need to stay alive, and starting to get hard. And this comes into the economic problem about the quarantine because people are starting to talk about the economic harm of staying in quarantine and how the stuff the economic loss can actually do more harm than the infection of the virus in itself. And well, a lot of people got very angry and say, "Oh, you want people to die and for money?" And it's not that simple. It is complicated because without money, people actually can die. And the fact that since the disease is so infectious, we have to consider the fact that while the quarantine can so-called flatten the curve and help the public health system to cope with the patients, in the end, the chances are the population is just going to get exposed, and more or less everybody is going to get infected without permanent social distancing and anti-infection measures, and that will mean everybody's freedom is going to take a hit. I mean, it's like then brings up the argument. It's like, is your freedom more important than everybody's safety? Well, that sounds like a very edgy argument, but the fact remains is the argument is not about safety. It's actually about people's freedom. You see, the mortality rate, according to the World Health Organization and other news sources, is pretty low. It's less than 10%, and Italy is having a really highest percentage rate at the moment due to a number of factors. The mortality rate of the beer bug is about 7%, and this and other places are pretty much lower. And so. So, and a lot of people have pointed out that at that percentage rate, there are other causes of death in normal life that is way higher. And then, so they sort of try to bring that into perspective about the safety issue. I mean, it's like, yeah, if you want more safety, you could do stuff like ban motorcycles and end the death due to motorcycles accidents, and you can other stuff. And so it's like that sort of brings the argument into perspective. But once again, go back to the point that it's more about safety rather than no, sorry, it's more about freedom rather than safety, because here we're talking about people. It's about the freedom for whether or not allowing people to take the chances with the risk of getting this the beer bug and falling ill and maybe become a casualty. The risk is not that high, so a lot of people would say, "Hey, I should have the freedom to choose whether or not to face this risk instead of being forced to stay home or being forced to work, forced to not work. I mean, and they might have a point. And but then, because the disease is so infectious, right? If you're not following quarantine procedures, You might transmit the disease to those people who do not want to face that risk, do not want to take that chance. So basically, you're forcing your will on other people in that way by exposing people to the chance of infection, and that violates their freedom of choice and their own self-determination. So what do we do? That's a conundrum, isn't it? I mean, it's like, it's your freedom versus other people's freedom. Do they have a right to tell you what to do? Do you have the right to do what you want? Well, to look at it properly, we had to think about the natural condition of how this event is going to unfold if we do nothing at all. If we do nothing at all, well, everybody's going to get infected really, really quickly, and those people who are going to die from the infection are going to die all at once. And those people that weren't going to die might actually die too, because here's the kicker: because the healthcare system couldn't cope with that many people being infected. So there's an upside, there's a payoff for quarantine procedures. Now we look at that, we have to think about what our actions will do in response to the natural condition. I mean, if you don't do anything, there's the natural condition will unfold. But if you say, hey, hang on, everybody, let's do something. Let's do something to improve safety. And you ask people to follow quarantine and social distancing and whatever medical advice you need to do to prevent infection. Now, nobody's forcing you to do that yet. Now, a lot of people voluntarily do it because they have the freedom to follow the quarantine procedures, and that will reduce the rate. But it will reduce the rate more if you force people to do it. Is that true? Well, you can look at China, and then according to their official results, that appears to be true, but there are people who claim that Chinese information is not trustworthy. And the fact is, actually, that's quite true. The Chinese government, the CCP, hasn't been quite forthright with what's going on in the world, and that makes the information that whether or not their authoritarian crackdown, authoritarian quarantine measures, and forcing everybody to follow the procedures and without any regard for their freedom of choice and the self-determination of people. Although it seems successful, we are still questioning about that. Or we can look at Taiwan, which is more or less a free society. But you got to understand, Taiwan is basically a Mandarin culture, basically more or less Chinese culture, culturally Chinese, much more so than mainland China, according to a lot of sources. Well, that's because of mainland China had the problem with the Cultural Revolution, and that destroyed a lot of Chinese culture in China itself, ironically. So they are doing an excellent job of containing the epidemic. But they have much about Chinese Mandarin culture is about obeying the authorities. So Chinese, like it or not, Chinese culture does not have a lot of respect for individual freedoms. So that brings in point of the authority of the government. If the government is competent, they need to follow their authority, and then accordingly step in line, follow all the rules. Would that get you the safety that you need? That's a big question, isn't it? Yeah. Would you want to give up your freedom for your safety? Excuse me. Oh no, I'm coming down with the beer virus. Maybe. Those who know your bit of American history and carry around some American currency, in particular the $100 bills, remember a certain person called Benjamin Franklin who famously proclaimed, if you give up some essentials, liberty for some temporary safety, you deserve neither liberty nor safety. That's something to think about. Well, that is oh my goodness, I can't speak English. Philosophically very powerful. We do have to think about do have to think about the consequences of just returning to the natural condition and being gun ho about the whole thing. Now, of course, we don't have to fall back to the unnatural condition where everything is just allowed to happen without us taking any action. We can hope that people voluntarily doing what they can, altruism, to reduce the infection rate could be a good thing. Could happen. But let's face it, people are more selfish than altruistic. And we have seen that in the punch-ups regarding toilet paper and paper towels. And people are ridiculously selfish. And while do we want to respect people's right to be selfish? Do we want to give them the freedom to be selfish when the selfish actions can infringes on other people's freedoms, like their freedom not to be infected by being not exposed to the virus? A complicated situation. But like every complicated situation, we have to weigh the various pros and cons to figure out what's the best action to take. And here is the most integral part of it, of all this hullabaloo, is we need integrity of information, right? It's like without integrity of information, without the facts, we got serious problems. So we wouldn't be able to know what's the best action to do. And this has reared its ugly head in the beginning of this whole crisis in the Northern America, in the United States, where information was not very reliable. And this, you know where this is going. The president of the United States is often accused of the so-called mainstream media for publishing fake news. And there have been some evidence that the news media has not been entirely accurate, and they have quite an agenda against the president of the United States, even though the president himself is not a bastion of complete information integrity in himself. And the people are starting to realize that, oh, wait a minute, we can't trust the mainstream media because we can see them in real time flipping and flopping about what the facts are. And then people are and there's a real crisis. How are we going to take the responsible action, right, to protect our liberty and preserve other people's liberty, and trying to be safe at the same time when we can't trust the source of information? That's the big conundrum, isn't it? What can we do about it? There's not much we can do about it except educate ourselves. We have to be as smart as possible and try to be able to figure out how things work and figure out what makes sense. Well, number one reason for staying in school, kids. Okay, we have sketched out a basic outline of Mercy. Maybe one day I'll come back to finish this sketch and make it into a piece of art. Maybe a model color art design. Oh, wait a minute. Is Mercy left-handed? Oh, dear God, I screwed up the hands now. We will solve this by cheating. We select the sketch, go to Image in Photoshop, rotate, flip horizontal. Ta-da! Oh, wait, I flipped the whole picture. Now I undo, edit, undo, flip. Now we go to Image, rotate. We flip the selection. Right, flip selection horizontal. And now the sketch of Mercy is right-handed. And we probably have to change the hair again, but who cares? Alright, that's all for now for Talk and Draw. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Please like, subscribe, and follow at Mother Chicken on Twitter. And have a nice day.